Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the OWLRU Legal Roundup. Win conditions, Houston Outlaws edition. So, the first half of the season and the second half of the season really couldn't have been any more different than it has been for the Houston Outlaws. In the first half of the season, we were wondering whether they were going to finish bottom of the league, but an absolute astonishing Stage 3 saw them get to the playoffs of Stage 3, and although they did get wiped aside by the Vancouver Titans, they are in a pretty good position going into our Stage 4 and the run-in for the play-ins. They are on an 8-13 record in 15th place. They are on the same record as the Valiant, the Paris Eternal, and the Boston Uprising. They are one win behind the play-ins right now, behind the group of Atlanta, Chengdu, and Guangzhou. And I think, looking at their stage schedule, again, it's another team that it's highly doable for, especially what the teams around them have got to play against. So, in week 1, they will play against the Paris Eternal. This is by far a must-win match. Paris Eternal are on the same record. They've got an inferior map differential, but only by 3. So, it's a must-win for both teams. You know, if one of these teams loses this, whoever loses this game, I think is out of it already. I'm going to put that out there. It will have to be a hell of a turnaround for those teams to get back into the play-in run, because you're already on the back foot by then. So it's going to be a big game, that one, to kick off the stage for the Houston Outlaws and the Paris Eternal equally. Then after that, they will have to play the Gladiators. Now, this is not ideal for the Houston Outlaws, but it is their on paper toughest game of the stage. So that's another thing to look forward to, I suppose. They could upset the Gladiators. You know, Houston in the regular stage of Stage 3, they could have upset some of the bigger teams. I think Gladiators will squeeze it out, though. Gladiators will need to win that game. So, I think Gladiators will win that one, but it wouldn't be the end of the world for the Houston Outlaws if they were to lose that game. Because in week 2, they will go up against the Philadelphia Fusion and the Atlanta Reign. Now, Fusion could be a tricky prospect, but with both of those teams now on DPS and a 2-2 meta, Lynxa versus Carpe is back, and I think, on their day, Houston Outlaws can win that. So, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we could see the Houston Outlaws take down the Philadelphia Fusion. That would almost all end Fusion's playoff hopes, though. And they would be confined to the play-ins, I would have thought. But Houston, they could pick up a win there. Where they must pick up a win is against the Atlanta Reign. That has to be a win, because they are one of those teams that are in the play-ins right now. One of those teams that Houston Outlaws want to dislodge. So that is a perfect opportunity to do that. And Houston will dislodge the Atlanta Reign if they can get a win over them. So that's a must-win. It's a must-win right there. And we go into week 3. They will play the London Spitfire and the Washington Justice. Now, let's just cover the Washington Justice. The Washington Justice is a must-win, and in my opinion, if they don't win against the Washington Justice, then what the hell are you bloody doing? You don't deserve to be in the play-ins if you can't beat the Justice. So that must be a win, and it must be a hefty win for Houston. It must be like a 4-0 or something, because that is a game that they really need to just sweep aside. The game against London is a funny one, because you go back to the inaugural season of the Overwatch League, the bogey team of the London Spitfire were the Houston Outlaws. And in the most recent metas, Houston have not been effective, but London have managed to break that voodoo. Going back into a 2-2, which we saw a lot of in the inaugural season, will that voodoo come back? Maybe. It would be bad for London at this late stage. They need to pick up wins, and Houston Outlaws is one of those games you'd expect the London Spitfire to win. But it's not beyond the realms of possibility for Houston to nick a win here either. Moving on to week 4, they all play the Chengdu Hunters. That's a must-win. Absolutely must-win. But you look at the games here. Chengdu, Washington, Atlanta, Paris. There are 4 games there. So, if I was looking at this, at worst, if I was a Houston fan, I would be looking at a 4-3 record. Which I think, considering the teams around them, might well squeeze them into the play-ins. But if I was hopeful, I would look at a 5-2 record or a 6-1 record. getting a win over the Fusion and a freak win over either the Gladiators or the Spitfire, then you will almost certainly be in the play-ins. So, if you look at this, it's kind of in Houston's hands, but they must make sure that they seal out victories over the Paris Eternal, the Atlanta Reign, the Washington Justice, and the Chengdu Hunters. Because if you cannot beat those teams, you will not make it. You will not make it. It's as simple as that. But, if you look at their Stage 3 record, Houston are capable of beating those teams. They've just got to put their mind to it, and in a DPS meta where Linksa gets to pop off on his heroes, Jake gets to pop off on his heroes, and Dante gets to pop off on his heroes, you know, and they are well equipped this time as well. You go back to the inaugural season and they didn't have a Tracer player. Well, now that's sorted with Dante in the team, so it's all sorts of doable for the Houston Outlaws, and you know, it's actually possible that the Houston Outlaws could nick a place from the other Texas team. Wouldn't that go down well after the Dallas homestand? Anyway, I will leave it here for this one. Those were your win conditions for the Houston Outlaws. Up next will be the Paris Eternal, our other European team. Paris Eternal, we're starting to get to the teams that are looking a bit sketchy. You know, they are that bit further away when you look at map differential, and they will have to have very good stages. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.